Welcome back. There's been a rare moment of consensus between Republicans and Democrats. The big issue at hand is the rebrand of Cracker Barrel. Yeah, that's right. In case you missed it, the outrage comes after the restaurant chain went from the logo on your left to the logo on your right. Let that set in there. The president said in part today, quote, Cracker Barrel should go back to the old logo, admit a mistake based on customer response. But the Democratic Party weighed in as well, saying they don't like it either. Well, Republican strategist and CBS News political contributor Terry Sullivan's here, as is Kendra Barkoff. Lamy, you've worked for Marco Rubio, you've worked for Joe Biden, you've also done crisis communications and corporate work, and you look at this situation and you think what?
Thank you very much. This is good for business for our business. I mean, when companies do this kind of dumb stuff that they shoot themselves in the foot, they need to hire public affairs and public relations professionals. So from that standpoint, selfishly, it's great. But I don't know why they keep doing it. I'm not sure why the old man in the rocking chair was canceled, what he said. But, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, companies have every ability and option to rebrand if they want to rebrand, but you got to read the room first. You got to do the research first. This is not a time to go and do something that's completely different when the online community clearly piles on quickly. We see it across the board with every little thing that happens. Clearly, they did not read the room well enough at all to do this rebrand to begin with.
And I know they issued some clarification last night on social media. It says, look, the menu's still there. The little games with the teas is still there. We've added a few new things to the menu, but otherwise, come on in, everything's fine.
We're still talking about this a week later.
Right.
That is not good for a brand, right? It just not. So
I mean, if they called you up and said, what do we do? What would you tell them? And I realize that's an expensive question to ask both of you, but
revert the logo and stop talking. Yes, I mean, look, they need to put this to bed.
Yeah.
And they need to apologize for screwing up. They need to acknowledge that, hey, we made a mistake. Cracker Barrel is about bringing people together and yada yada yada. And we shouldn't have done this.
Apologize, move on is what I got to say.
All right. Well, again, rare bipartisan agreement on this, which makes you wonder what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You both, though, of course, are watching also this ongoing debate and deployment of whether or not to deploy National Guard troops. Obviously, they're here, 4 figures of them, at least here in Washington. There's talk about them going to Chicago or other cities. As we reported earlier, there is data that's suggesting that while the crime here in D.C. was on the decline, it has continued in the roughly 2 weeks since this started. Congress comes back next week. They're going to get asked about this because at some point he's going to have to go to them after the 30 days and say, I want to keep doing this, or work with me to figure out how we can keep doing this. How do your parties respond, and how do you two assess this?
Well, look, I think that there was and is still a real need in Washington, D.C. to assess the crime. I just don't think the National Guard are the people to be doing it. They're not trained. You have to have a holistic approach to dealing with crime. You have to have after-school programs. You have to have more police. You know, the Department of Justice cut a lot of serious grants for a lot of these programs. This is also on them. It's not a one-size-shoe-fits-all kind of thing. And I think what they're doing is putting the optics of the National Guard in front of Union Station and in front of very picturesque type of places, when the reality is there are some crime-ridden areas that I don't think they're doing anything about.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time you went to Union Station was, but I assure you, with all the homeless people out there and the panhandlers, it is kind of crime-ridden. And it's a lot cleaner and a lot better when you have the National Guard there. And as long as Democrats want to keep talking about how crime's not quite that bad or we don't need to do quite as much, it's only an advantage for Republicans.
What about the idea, though, that this is a community that doesn't, or at least its leadership, doesn't want it? The concept of a community being
the leadership
told
is
by a federal...
rather incompetent, and there wouldn't be this problem if they actually arrested criminals and did things about it, like this cashless bail system where they let people just check out of jail and say, oh, we promise to come on back after they've been arrested. They don't pursue people when they've committed crimes. I mean, you can't go to a CVS and buy razors, not that I've ever tried, but you can't go to a CVS and buy razors without getting someone to unlock the case because the crime is so bad in this city. And it's not just D.C.
Right. But that's my point, though. Once it goes potentially beyond Washington to other states, because this is not a state,
right,
that whole concept of state rights gets thrown out because crime is the exception for the conservative
Well, that might
movement?
be a conversation for the ACLU and the Federalist Society, but for the American people who, are witnessing this crime in their city, Chicago. I don't think anybody can argue that Chicago city is not a real crime problem. And if the local, either the city or the state can't handle it, you've got to start to wonder that maybe the federal government does need to step in.
So this has become a challenge for your party.
Yeah,
How do they
again,
talk about
I am all for lowering crime rates, and I do believe Washington, D.C. does have a problem. Everybody has a story about, walking down the street and a mugging, a carjacking. I am not discounting that point, but my point is there's ways to work to do it in a responsible way with programs that matter, as opposed to coming in and setting a mandate like a dictator saying we're doing this right this minute. That is my point.
I understand there's bipartisan agreement on something that went on with Zohran Mamdani, the candidate for mayor of New York. Do we have this? I haven't seen it myself, admittedly, but
it's cringeworthy.
Can we play it or show it? It's coming. What's he doing here? He's bench pressing, right?
He's
trying to
bench press,
and he's wearing
35 pounds in a suit.
In a suit,
correct? With help.
And he was mocked by his Democratic and Republican opponents, right? Not something you'd advise, right?
Yeah. First of all, the campaign staff who allowed this to happen should be fired. I mean, why would you allow your candidate to go out there and do this, especially one who's winning? Like, if it's different, you know what, Cuomo might need to be doing this because he's so far behind that he needs to try this kind of crazy stuff. That man just needs to run out the clock.
I think that there is a point of being authentic, and he crossed that line. You got to do what fits. But I do want to know what is up with men wearing suits and jeans to work out in general. RFK is doing it. Like, can you not wear workout stuff and do it in an authentic way?
I do, in the rare chances I get to work out, for the record. Terry Sullivan, Kendra, Barkoff, Lamy. Good to see you both. Good to see that there was bipartisan agreement on at least something today. Encouraging. We'll see if that happens when Congress gets back.